Alrighty, for this mini lesson, we are doing GCF, the greatest common factors. So we're going to be factoring out a GCF in fully factored form with different variables as well. So first thing, we're looking at this first question right here. I'm going to start by splitting this into the terms. So this is a two-termed polynomial. There's 40a cubed b cubed, and then there is a 32a cubed. So I'm going to separate it at the two terms. From here, I'm going to start by finding my GCF of the coefficients. So in our Desmos, you'll see I already typed in GCF, parentheses. It does have to be lowercase. And then I'm going to type in 40, 32, because those are my coefficients. And we get a GCF of 8. So that is actually what we're going to divide both coefficients by. From here, we're going to actually divide these out, starting with 40 divide 8 to get 5. Then we're going to write out the variables. The exponent will tell you how many times to write the variable. So a cubed means I'm going to write out a 3 times. B cubed means I'm going to write out b 3 times. Moving on to the other side, we're going to start by doing that 32 divide 8. Which will give us 4. And then on this side, we only have one variable, a cubed, which means I'm going to write out 3 a's. Once I have everything written out, we are now going to start to circle items to get our GCF. The first thing we can always start with is what we divided by, which is our 8. So I'm going to start by writing that out. Then I'm going to look at my variables. Now, when we go to circle our variables, just like we circled an 8 on both sides, we need to do the same thing with our variable. So starting with a's, if I go circle, circle, that creates one group of a's. And I want to keep creating groups until I run out. So circle, circle, now I've created 2 groups of a's. And then circle, circle, I've made 3 groups of a's. And then on this example, I happen to run out of a's on both sides. But as long as one side runs out, that's how you know you are done. In total, we made 3 groups of a's. 3 groups is going to have a to the 3, or a cubed. Now we're looking at the b's. Now if you see on this side, there are no b's to even circle. So because there are no b's on both sides, we cannot make any groups, meaning we cannot factor out any b's. So now we're going to take care of our leftovers. The leftovers are going to go inside of the parentheses, starting with our big number 5. And then on this example, there are no a's left over, so we're good on that. But there are 3 b's left over. And to note that, we're going to do it as b cubed. On the next side, we have a 4 left over, and it was a positive 4, so I'm going to do plus 4. And then there are no a's, and there's no other variables left over, so that's actually it. And then I'm going to just move my parentheses slightly closer. This is our factored answer using GCF. All right, here is a second example. So same thing, we're going to factor using GCF. So again, we're going to start by splitting this into the factors. Into the terms. This has 2 terms once again. From here, we're going to look for that GCF. So using my Desmos, I'm going to type in the coefficients. Now you can type in a negative, however, it will not change what you get as your actual GCF. So here they gave us a GCF of 4. So we're going to divide both sides by 4. Now, when we are dealing with like standard form and things like that, we don't want the first value to be negative. So if you notice, this has a negative first term, which we want to get rid of that. So we're actually going to divide by a negative 4 so we can get rid of that negative for the first term. So now we're going to start doing some dividing. We're going to do that 28 divide 4 to get 7, and it's going to be a positive 7 because those double negatives will become positive. Then we're going to write out our variables. When we have a variable like b with no exponent, there's an invisible 1 there, meaning for this one, there's just 1b. Then we're going to move on to our c. There are c to the 3, so 3 c's. And then we have y to the 3, so we also have 3 y's. Moving to the other side, we're going to start by dividing. We've got that 8 divide -4 to get -2. And then again, no exponent means that there's actually 1 there, so we have an A. And then we have 4 y's because that y has an exponent of 4. Now, just like last time, we're going to start to circle the GCF, so things that are in common on both sides of the terms. First thing is that -4, so I'm going to start with that. Then when I go look at my letters, I see we have an A here, but there's not an A on the first term, so I'm going to skip A. And then again, looking for my next letter, B. Again, notice there's a B on the first one, but no B's on the second term, so I'm going to skip that as well. We can't make a group. C's, once again, there's C's on the first one, not on the second. So again, we cannot make a group. The only thing these terms have in common is y's for the variables. So I'm going to go circle, circle. That's one group. Circle, circle. That's a second group. Circle, circle. That is a third group. And then on my first term, I ran out. So that's how I know I am done. So I made 3 groups of y's to get y to the 3. So that is our GCF. Now we're going to put those leftovers inside of the parentheses. So opening my parentheses, we're going to start grabbing those leftovers. We have a 7 for our coefficient. We have a B. And then we have 3 C's, so C cubed. And then we used up all the y's, so we're done with that. We're moving on to the second term. We have a -2. We have an A, and then we have a leftover y. And then that's everything on that side, so I'm going to close it up. And then this is our factored answer using GCF, greatest common factor.